You're a guy who's been pedestalizing females for your whole life and nothing's worked. There's always been that one girl in your class that you've always had a crush on, yet you've never had a real conversation and you've never actually approached her. All you are is a person on her Snapchat roster. I'm gonna dive right in and say that most of these girls that you're talking to are so chopped. The average girl literally has no good qualities. When you really think back about the girls in your class and the girls you've met throughout your life, none of them really hold any value or quality. The average girl is a 6 out of 10. She vapes, she eats junk food, she scrolls on TikTok for 6 hours a day. She has a white fox hoodie in her wardrobe. Like, all of these things, none of these girls are any different to what you think they are. The girl you're thinking of right now, she doesn't even exercise. She uses porn and all these other bad habits as sexual outlets because she can't meet needs. And you're just thinking in a really, really blindsided way. Before I spoke about that, you probably had no idea that the average girl is doing these things. You might have had like a brief idea like, oh, she doesn't do good habits, but you never actually really logically think about what she's actually doing and how she actually is as a person. Like, from all the girls that I've spoken to, none of them have been special. Like, every single girl that I've been in relationships with, dated, and even done stuff casually with, have never actually been special. And more than anything, what I've noticed myself is that every single girl that I've spoken to and every single girl I've done stuff with has always just been like, they're all the same in some way. Like, I don't mean to say that to be rude or disrespectful, but most of the females that I've like seen and most of the females I know of are just the same. They all do the same habits. Some of them don't even exercise. Some of them literally scroll for 3 to 4 hours a day on TikTok. They eat junk food. They don't take care of their health. They might have a dog and the only form of exercise they do is walking their dog. Like, all of these things don't really do it for me. Like, if I hear about how a girl hasn't basically left the house for the whole day, I don't really see that as an attractive quality. And another thing is that this is something that's really, really huge that most guys never look at because they always see girls as just pure and innocent. And is that most girls literally watch porn. Most girls literally meet their needs through sexual, like for example, pornography, because they haven't got any way of meeting it. As humans, our aim is to reproduce and biologically, obviously, carry on our gene lineage. Girls do the same thing. As guys, like, obviously porn and nofap's a big thing. Girls don't actually have any guidance to say that's bad, even though it's just horrible. So in general, most of the girls that you're talking to are just lower quality. They're not even that attractive. Like, for example, you might say she's an 8 out of 10, but the only reason you're saying that is because you formed an anxious attachment to her and you're not seeing things objectively. What I've always found to be the case is that whenever someone says, oh, she's really attractive, she's this, she's that, she never actually really is. What you need to do in specific is stop pedestalizing these girls. Right, you're giving them a spot where they don't need to be. You need to bring them back to normalcy and basically see them for who they are. Look at their traits, look at their characteristics, look at how they interact with others, how they behave around other people, how they behave with you, most importantly, if you talk to them, right? Look at her for who she is. Like, literally list traits that she has, list qualities she has, and just be in tune with how you feel. I remember this one time in year 8, I remember like, this was like after COVID, after like the lockdown when we were starting to go back to school. There was just one girl in my class that I really, really just had a huge crush on. And I never actually spoke to her, but what would happen is, I remember we were in like a science classroom and I'd sit on like the 3rd row and I'd sit at the end towards like a window. And every time, like, I'd always just be looking back, like, just to look at her because I was just that infatuated and I just had the biggest crush on her. And when that was happening, I didn't look at anything objectively. I was just looking at her in this haze and I was pedestalizing her. I was like, she's an 8 out of 10, she's a 9 out of 10. When in reality, she was like a 6. And my own brain and my anxious attachment was just clinging on to her because she was the only source of validation I had. I put all these emotions onto her and I basically saw her as like above me, even though that wasn't true. And here's the thing that nobody told me, and it was that during that time that I liked her, she liked another guy. She was obsessing over a guy that probably had a mission, probably had a purpose, probably knew what he was doing. And I was just obsessing over her. I was chasing after her while she was basically running away from me towards someone else. She was obsessing over a guy who didn't care and was focused on something completely different. I remember when I was younger, I used to always obsess over females and it never actually got anywhere. At best, I was like a close friend to that girl, but I never actually got what I wanted from that interaction and that relationship. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I really, really use and it helped me the most. And it's that remove a girl's beauty and she becomes nothing. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean she's literally nothing. I don't mean that. I'm not being rude. But what I'm saying is that most guys, most young men, most guys that I talk to and see and speak to when they speak about girls, they're like, yo, bro, she's so lame. She's got back or something like that. They always say something like that. And I'm just like, if you remove that, right? She's got makeup on, she's done her hair nicely, whatever. Remove all of that and see her for who she is. Like, imagine she's like literally bold, right? This is something that I've done and it works, but it's weird, but it works, right? And it's that you literally need to imagine her as being bold, like with no hair, and then see what type of qualities and traits she'd have. Take a step back, remove her looks, right? Pretend she's bold, pretend that she's just completely different to how she looks now. And look at her really. Look at her traits, look at her qualities, look at who she is, how she behaves with other people. And you'll notice something different. Just now, you've basically gone into this realization that the girl you've basically always been talking to, and you've always, not always been talking to, but always like objectified and seen as like up and pedestalized, she's not actually as high as you think. And she's basically just pretty basic, if you ask me. And this is the thing, girls do this naturally. For example, if there's a guy who's really, really attractive, he's like looks matched to a T, he looks amazing. If he walks into a room and a girl's looking at him and he says like the wrong thing, he basically triggers her. She basically pulls away from him and has like this sort of repulsion. Like, it doesn't matter how attractive he is. If like a 10 out of 10 guy walks into a room and the girls aren't just basically digging him, they're kind of like, oh, he's a bit weird, I don't really like him, he said the wrong thing and he's turned me off. And what you need to do is from what we've learned about how females just reject guys, even if they're 10s, right, which sounds crazy, you need to do the same thing. For example, if there's a female who's attractive and she's like higher up or whatever, you basically just need to move away and just be like, she's not actually that attractive. Be in tune with rejecting females if they don't align with your values and your traits. If you really feel like they're just not who you want them to be and you just don't want them to be in, you don't see yourself being in a relationship with them, just have the courage to just walk away, right? Because that's the best thing that helped me, and it's that really, really align what type of woman you'd want for your future children and as your future partner. Obviously, there's short-term mating strategies and dating strategies, and there's long-term mating and dating strategies. I can get onto that in other videos. Just comment down below if you want to see that. I'm really, really advanced in this because I just know my stuff. But yeah. Also, if you've got this far into the video, make sure you like and subscribe because it really, really helps me out. It also makes sure you get immediate access to any new piece of content I release, so you keep growing and you keep developing yourself. Now I want to move into the mindset shifts and the actionable steps you can do to actually take what you've learned from this video and apply it for yourself. And it's that the number one thing that absolutely changed everything for me personally is create abundance. Talk to loads and loads of different girls, whether it's at the gym, at school, at work, or it doesn't matter where you are on the street. Just speak to loads and loads of different females and loads of different girls and understand who they are, what type of things they like and how they actually interact, because so many guys I've seen are just so scared of just talking to a woman. Like, for example, there's guys I know in person, like from school and stuff, that are just terrified of talking to women and they just don't even want to go near them. And whenever a girl gets close, they kind of get a bit nervous and they're like, oh shit, like what do I do? And then they just stutter over their words and stuff. You don't want to be that guy. Trust me, it's not a good look. In simple terms, you want to talk to loads and loads of different girls. Doesn't matter what it is, it needs to be small, it can be anything. Just talk to loads of females and basically just have loads and loads of different options. So many guys are just so scared of talking to females. Like, the idea of talking to a girl from the gym or walking up to a girl and speaking to her is literally horrifying for some guys, and it's just because they're literally just pussies. With me, I'm like the most confident guy when it comes to talking to girls in like my area, my like gym or whatever. And whenever I've gone up to a female and started talking to her, every other guy that's like in the gym at that moment just stares at me. Like, for example, if I go over and like cold approach a girl, for example, and I'm talking to her and we're having a conversation, I get a number or whatever, and I end up like doing stuff, every other guy is just staring at me in the gym. These guys are just such losers. Like, then obviously they see me as a threat and stuff as well. But what I wanted to go over is that literally there's so many guys who are going to drag you down when you do this, when you start talking to multiple females. So you just need to be aware that you're literally a threat if you do this. Being a threat isn't a bad thing, and if anything, you're basically increasing your value and other men are seeing it. Also, I hope this video has helped you, and I'm hoping that you've learned some of the lessons I've spoken about, because I really think a lot of guys need to hear this, because so many guys are just pedestalizing girls when they shouldn't be, and they're not being confident basically. So if you got to this part of the video, comment pedestal in the comments down below. I really want to see more engagement from you guys, because I really think that my content's helping people and I really think that you're benefiting from it. Always one thing I like to say, and it's always strive for excellence, because great things will come your way.